It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning as we talk about real estate here in the Low Country. If this is your first time tuning in, this is a show where we talk about residential real estate. We talk about the market. We talk about national, regional, local news that applies to us here in the Low Country, so that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you are an informed consumer. So thanks for spending the next hour or so with me as we talk about real estate in the Charleston area. If you'd like to reach out to me and discuss your interest in buying or selling a home, feel free to do so at any time. I can be reached personally at 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. And again, that's my cell phone number. That's not on-air number, so that'll be a private conversation between you and I. Of course, you can visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com for more information on myself, my team, who we are, what we do, how many homes we sold. We represent about 1,000 clients here in the Charleston area. Sold over 200 homes last year. We're going to sell probably 250 homes this year, and would welcome the opportunity to discuss your real estate needs with you in greater detail. But let me tell you what I have planned over the next hour. I've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to keep it rather short on the introduction this morning. I want to talk first and foremost about consumer confidence in the real estate market and the fact that it's been the highest it's been in years. Later in the program, when I'll talk about buyers and how to be the first to see new listings and what you do when you see the home you fall in love with. I want to talk about listing agents. How are listing agents actually different? I mean, what are they really doing to differentiate themselves? And then lastly, I want to talk about the Financial Choice Act, which was passed by the House on Thursday of this week to abolish Dodd-Frank, and now it's moving to the Senate. I want to talk about what that means for us in the real estate industry. So that's what we've got planned over the next hour. Again, if you want to have a conversation with me about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, feel free to do so. My number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. So let's talk about consumer confidence in real estate and the fact that it's the highest it's been in years. And think about it this way. It's very simple to kind of look at consumer confidence and the impact it has on the market. When interest rates go down and are expected to go down, home values almost always increase. Of course, on the flip side of that, when rates go up and are expected to keep rising, home values typically reduce, or they at least stay flat. So it's no coincidence, really, that the upswing in the housing market, which started sometime in the latter part of 2012, was followed by the third round of quantitative easing. QE3 is what they call it, which they announced in the middle of September of 2012, wherein the Federal Reserve essentially launched this program that was costing them, I think, $40 billion per month in bond purchasing programs for agency mortgage-backed securities. So with prices going up with no real end in sight, a record number of people think now is the best time to sell their house. About 61% of people said there was no time like the present to put a home on the market, according to Fannie Mae's National Housing Survey, which they did last month in May. That's the highest it's been since Fannie Mae started doing this survey, and it started in June of 2010. 52% of participants, by the way, said that it was a good time to sell in April, so we're up almost 10% just over a 2-month period. Now, having said that, the high prices sellers can get doesn't necessarily mean that people are rushing to put for sale signs in their front yards. Well, why is that? It's because they still have to find a new house to buy. I mean, in this market, if you don't see any affordable buying opportunities, then you're kind of hesitant to list your home for sale, especially if you think you can, especially if you think it's a good time to sell, you just can't find what you're looking for. So according to this same survey that was done from Fannie Mae's National Housing Survey, again, it was done last month, it said 33% think it's not a good time to be a house hunter. Obviously, the overwhelming majority think that it is a good time to be a house hunter. So people who, this is my opinion, but people who think it's a bad time to buy, they're concerned about home prices. I mean, the supply of homes is tight, especially in the Charleston area, which is what's pushing up these home prices. And nearly half of the people that were surveyed, 48% actually, believe that those prices are going to get even higher. Only 8% of which thought that prices were going to go down. But I've got some news for you. Charleston real estate prices aren't going down anytime soon, which makes sense, as prices are usually the highest during the warm weather months when competition is at its fiercest. I mean, folks want to move in the summer, which is right before kids go back to school, but we also have a huge second home market, and it's now the peak season for those kinds of properties. So as long as housing supply remains limited, interest rates remain historically low, and property remain relatively affordable, I mean, that's going to continue to push prices upward. So what I did is I looked at some data in our local market that I think is relevant to this discussion. I went back and I looked at our market in May of 2014, and I compared it to our market now. And by the way, for those of you that like your stats, I did a 3-month rolling average, meaning I did the average for March, April, and May, so the data wasn't skewed. And let's just use Charleston County as an example. The median sales price in May of 2014 was $278,000. We're now at $330,000. The average days on market then was 90 days. Now we're at 61 days. We had 3,752 homes available for sale. Now we have 3,010. We were selling 2,000 homes a month. Now we're selling 2,673. The housing supply, the month's supply of inventory, we used to have 6 months worth of inventory 3 years ago. Now we only have 3.8 months worth supply of inventory, meaning if nothing else came on the market today, we would be sold out of every listing in the Charleston area in 3.8 months. And then if you look at the number of showings that listings are getting, we have some really awesome access to all types of data in our MLS. And one of them is the number of showings it takes in order for you to put your home under contract. That's called showings to pending. And so 3 years ago, we were getting a little over 4 showings a month. And now we're getting over 6 showings a month. So we're getting more activity. Home values are up because there's less inventory. There's more homes selling on a monthly basis. They're selling faster. They're getting shown more often. And interestingly, we haven't talked about interest rates, but interest rates in May of 2014 were at 4.25%. You know what it is now? 4%. They were actually up to 4.25% back in March of this year, but interest rates are even more attractive now than they were then. So a lot of you listening right now are either in this predicament or somebody in this predicament. You're thinking of selling your house. You just don't have enough data about where to move to next to finalize your decision. And so when you begin exploring the idea of selling your house, naturally one of the questions will be, where am I going to move to next? I mean, most people immediately jump to, what's my home worth? Which frankly is kind of the easy part. I mean, you need to know how much your home's going to sell for, how long it's going to take to sell, and ultimately how much you're going to walk away with after paying commissions and closing costs, which, assuming you have equity in your home, is going to be applied to the purchase of your new home. But the question remains, can I afford the home I want to buy next? And are there homes available that fit my criteria? So when we come back, I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to sort through the process of selling your home and buying another. I'm also going to tell you how you can find properties other buyers don't know about yet, so you can be the first to see it and the first to make an offer. So all that when we return right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. And if you'd like to reach out to me, again, you're thinking about selling your house, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. I am happy to provide you with a no-cost evaluation of your home. It can be done in a matter of minutes, or if you'd like something more accurate, of course, we'll walk through your home, we'll talk about your situation, and we'll help you make sense out of this whole process of selling a home and buying another. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. WTMA! Now, here's more of The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, as The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning as we talk about real estate here in the Low Country. If you're just joining us, we were just talking about the idea that consumer confidence is at an all-time high. It's a fantastic market if you're a seller. You can sell your home quickly. You can sell it for more money than you've been able to for, almost a decade at this point. But there's an issue in our market right now. Aside from the fact that we have reduced inventory, and as a buyer, it's really not all that attractive to buy right now. Of course, interest rates are still low. Right now, they're at 4%. They're lower than they were 3 years ago. Still an incredibly attractive interest rate. But the fact remains that if you're going to sell your home and buy another, you have to begin with the end in mind, meaning you have to know where you're moving to. You have to have some reasonable peace of mind that if you decide to go forward with this process, that there are going to be homes available for you to purchase that fit your criteria and that help you make sense out of this whole process. And so one of the benefits of communicating with a real estate team like the one I own and operate is that we have a huge database of people in varying stages of the home buying and selling process. I mean, sure, you can go on Zillow and you can start looking at homes for sale, but as part of my team's process, or as part of the service we offer, rather, we not only meet with you to discuss your home buying and selling needs and share data with you about your home's specific market, tell you what it's worth, how long it's going to take to sell, discuss our marketing plan, so on and so forth. But we also offer to take you out and physically show you some homes before you decide to sell. I mean, that to me is the most effective way to make sense out of the process of selling your home and buying another, to physically see what you could move into. So to elaborate on what I just mentioned a minute ago about working with a team like mine, we'll sell probably 250 homes this year, is that you may be one of those folks that says, I'm not going to sell my house unless I can find something that fits my specific criteria. I don't need to sell. I'm fairly happy where I am. I can make this house work. But if there was something out there that made sense for me to look at, then yes, we would sell our house. I mean, I was in that exact same situation a little over 2 years ago. We had just finished renovations on our other house. I mean, we just spent like $30-something thousand on a roof and new windows, which that is not fun money to spend on a house. But we did it because we intended on being there for quite a while. Well, this home hit the market. It was a for sale by owner. I think we got there on day 2 that it was listed. It was clearly underpriced. It was exactly what we were looking for. We made the decision to buy it. We ended up selling our home. Everything worked out. But I was one of those people. We didn't have any interest in moving. But if the right thing came along, then yes, we would have made that move. We would have engaged in the process of selling our home and buying another. So for us, when people say that's a very exciting statement for us because it allows us to find properties on your behalf that may not otherwise be available at this specific moment in time. Let me give you an example. We had a buyer looking in a neighborhood in Mount Pleasant called Charleston National. I mean, it's where they wanted to live. They didn't have any interest in any other community. They wanted to live in Charleston National, but nothing currently available at that time was of interest to them. They viewed the properties with the buyer agent on my team that were on the MLS, and it just wasn't going to work for them. They got a little discouraged. So what do? We literally called every homeowner that we could get a phone number for in Charleston National to see if they would entertain selling their house if the price was right. And guess what? I mean, we found them an excellent home. It was perfect for them. They bought it. They lived happily ever after. But that's an example to me, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on in this program, of going above and beyond for your clients. What are you actually doing to differentiate yourself, to not only earn business, but to do the very best you can for people when you're helping them buy or sell a house? Now, as an aside to that, we also have a bunch of sellers in our database that are wanting to sell their home. They're just a few months away from doing so. So you as a buyer, you tell us what you're looking for. And of course, we go and we look for homes that are listed for sale in the MLS. And we look at for sale by owners and expired listings that tried selling maybe a year ago. And maybe now they'll entertain selling their home, so on and so forth. But we also match up your search criteria with all the sellers we communicate with in our database. And we've already done, I think, 10 transactions this year where we proactively matched up a buyer and or seller with someone from our database, or we proactively found them a home that wasn't publicly available by doing things like I mentioned in that story I told you about with the folks that bought that home in Charleston National that wasn't on the market. We told those buyers that we were an aggressive, results-driven team of agents, and I was really happy our team was able to find them something they loved, and frankly, their previous agent just wasn't willing to do that for them. In fact, I forgot to mention that, actually. They were working with another real estate agent that was just sending them listings as they appeared in the MLS, and they basically took the position of, hey, this MLS search I've created for you is going to send you new listings as they become available. So when you see something you like, just let me know and we'll schedule a showing. So, let's be honest here for a moment. Most agents are going to do for you what I just described. They believe their value, quote unquote, to you is in giving you MLS access by creating a search for you that allows you to receive new listings as soon as they hit the market. And frankly, any agent with a pulse can do that for you. There is zero skill involved in setting up an MLS search for a buyer and then waiting for a buyer to tell the agent what they want to see when they want to see it. To me, that is nothing more than a door opener with a real estate license. Okay. The real value of a buyer agent and the value a buyer agent can offer you is not only what I mentioned to you earlier, which is the ability to not only give you insider information on which listings are going to be coming available before they hit the MLS, or to proactively find listings on your behalf by calling neighbors and working their database, so on and so forth. It's not just about that. It's about the buyer agent's ability to truly understand exactly what you're looking for in a new home and why, so that when one of those opportunities does present itself, the agent applies some urgency to help you be the first person to see the home and hopefully the first person to make the offer if the home checks all your boxes and it's the home you ultimately want to buy. Then, of course, a really good agent's going to help you save money by, negotiating your deal, constructing an offer that makes sense throughout the process so that you get a good deal. And even in a seller's market like this one we're in right now, we are consistently helping people buy homes for less than appraised value, which means they're moving into a property with instant equity. And with our relationships with several vendor partners like lenders and inspectors and attorneys and contractors and so on and so forth, we save you money that way too. But if you'd like more information on what your home is currently worth, you're thinking about moving and you want more information on what's available, or if you want to discuss doing some sort of off-market deal with my team, you want to know more about some of these listings that are coming on the market that are not yet publicly available, then I invite you to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can contact me that way. There's also a form there that allows you to input some characteristics about your house. I can use that information to provide you with an immediate analysis on your home. And then, of course, search the website so you can see what else is out there. But if you want access to my private database of people that are thinking of selling their home and they're just not ready yet, then of course, it's going to necessitate a conversation. So again, 843-345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com. We're very committed to helping people in this market make sense out of selling and buying. We understand the frustration that buyers have right now about not only rising prices, but limited inventory. They're just struggling to find what they want to buy. But I'm telling you, there are some tools and some tricks of the trade that we can employ to help you find that house of your dreams. So again, give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. When we come back, we're going to talk about listing agents. You're going to interview listing agents to sell your home. What makes them different from one another? Really, what makes them different from one another? We're going to talk about that when we come back. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. We'll be right back.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA as we continue our discussion about real estate. If you're just joining us, we've just talked about the fact that consumer confidence is very high in our market right now. A lot of people think that now is the best time to sell their home as compared to several years prior. Of course, we still have the challenge of if you're going to sell your home and buy something else, are there enough homes available or does the home you want to move into actually exist? So we talked about that and we talked about how to find those types of properties. I'll give you the Reader's Digest. Contact me and I can, of course, show you everything available in the MLS and show you for sale by owners and homes that tried to sell last year but didn't that might now entertain selling. But we also have a huge database of sellers that are considering selling their home at some point in the future. When we communicate with buyers, we give them access to that information to say, hey, is this a home that you might be interested in if they are now closer to the time where they're ready to sell their home? Obviously, the benefit there is that nobody else knows about those listings. They're called shadow inventory. And of course, we can go out and we can proactively find listings on your behalf by calling neighborhoods that you have an interest in, talking to other real estate agents that might be working with sellers that will be listing soon, so on and so forth. So if you're discouraged at the moment by the amount of inventory currently available or the lack thereof, there are some ways around that. There are some tools and some tricks of the trade, as I mentioned earlier, to find that inventory, and a top real estate team is going to be one of your best bets to find those people. So if that's something I can help you with, feel free to give me a call. 843-345-1273 is my cell phone. You can call or text that number, 345-1273, or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. But what I want to talk about now is how listing agents differentiate themselves. I mean, what really makes a listing agent different from another listing agent? And I've been on several appointments recently to interview for the job of selling somebody's house, and I'm noticing now more so than in years past that sellers are interviewing multiple agents. I mean, in some cases, 6 to 10 agents at a time before they make their decision. Frankly, I commend sellers for interviewing with multiple agents. I mean, why would I say such a thing? I mean, shouldn't I want to be the only agent they interview to increase my chances of being their agent? Well, sure. I mean, selfishly, yes, but I'm confident in my ability to sell real estate as well as the factors that differentiate me from my competition. But when my team and I meet with sellers to talk about selling their house, I mean, it's a very constructive and thorough discussion. We talk about the market specific to their house. We look at homes that have sold, that are under contract, and homes that are listed for sale that represent our competition. We talk about things like curb appeal or any repairs or modifications that you might need to do to help sell your home for more money or in a faster time. We, of course, offer a free staging consultation with a professional staging company. We go through our marketing plan, and of course, we discuss our factors that differentiate us from our competition, aside from things like our experience. And, I think I can probably count on one hand the number of agents in our market that have sold as many homes or close to as many homes as my team and I have. So, as a seller, what do you need to know when interviewing a realtor for the job of selling your house? The first thing that I'm going to tell you to focus on is their experience. I mean, in my opinion, they have to be selling at least 1 to 2 listings every month, meaning they're representing sellers and selling their home at least 1 or 2 times a month. If they're not, or if I was the person selling my house and I was interviewing listing agents, I would have some questions for them. And this is going to be a little bit of a bold statement, but hear me out. I would question their systems. I would question whether or not they actually run their business like a business. I would probably question their ability to lead generate for their listings, meaning, marketing. How do they find buyers for your house And do they have the budget to do so? And I'd probably question their work ethic. And again, this is a bit of a bold statement, but maybe they're perfectly fine with working 20 to 30 hours a week and only taking on 1 or 2 new clients at a time. Or maybe they're just newer in the business and they just haven't had much experience yet. But either way, I mean, I can guarantee you that the overall marketing package they offer and the customer support they offer and their ability to consult with their clients on an extremely important financial decision like selling your home, it's just not going to be the same as a team of dedicated professionals that are selling a home almost every day like mine is. I'm not bragging. I hope I'm not coming across that way, and I hope I'm not coming across as being brash, but this is an extremely important decision for you. And if you're going to try and sell your home for the most money possible with the least amount of headaches, you need somebody that's experienced. I mean, I don't think there are many people out there that want to play the role of a guinea pig while their listing agent attempts to overcome the learning curve associated with selling a home in this market. And of course, look, this is Charleston, okay? This is the South. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows somebody that's in real estate. My sister's friends, cousins, brothers in real estate, and I think we're going to list with him. Great. Have you interviewed him? Do you know exactly what they're going to do to help you sell the home, or is there just some sort of personal connection there? And so we see in this market, even with the extreme amount of sales we have, prices going up, properties selling in a faster amount of time for more money, all those things, we're still seeing a ton of properties not sell. I think the statistic, I have to look back at it, but I think 1 in every 3 properties does not sell the first time it's listed. So that means when you put your property on the market and you subject yourself to preparing your home to be shown on a daily basis, you never know when someone's going to call you and say, hey, I love your home. I've got to see it today. So that means you've got to keep your home well kept. That's a lot of work. So if you're going to subject yourself to this process, and of course, understand that you only get one chance at a good first impression. Let's say you list your home for 6 months with a real estate agent that just isn't that experienced. And now you've got to hire someone else to take over and get the job done for them. I mean, over 60% of the listings that my team and I sell were previously listed by another real estate company before we were hired and sold it. So I know this all too well. One of the challenges is that home has already been on the market. People have already seen it. They've already made the decision when they viewed it either online or wherever it is that they saw or heard about the house. They made the decision to either come and view your home and make an offer or not, or to not come and see it at all. And there's a variety of factors that play into that decision. But the bottom line is it's been available. In some instances, the listing is now a little stale. It's been on the market. We now have to rebrand the property, reintroduce it to the market, create excitement about it, and get it sold. And we do it successfully, but it takes a lot of work. It takes creativity and it takes experience. The second thing that I would say is customer service. If I'm a seller and I'm hiring a listing agent, one of my questions, of course, is going to be, how often am I going to hear from you? On my team, we have a communication guarantee. It states we will be in touch with you at least once per week from the time we list until the time we sell. And if we don't, you can fire us. But when we talk, the question you should be asking is, when we talk, what are we going to talk about? Or are you just going to try and get me to reduce my price every time we talk? I mean, how constructive are our conversations going to be? Ask them to tell you about the process of having your home shown. I mean, what does that agent do, if anything, before, during, or after a showing? I mean, what are the responsibilities of you, the seller? Do we open the blinds? Do we turn on all the lights? Do we bake cookies? I mean, by the way, there's nothing better than walking into a house that smells like freshly baked cookies. Sorry, I'm on a bit of a cookie kick right now. My wife makes amazing chocolate chip cookies, and I've maybe had a few too many of them. But a quick note about the showing process and feedback from buyers once the home is shown. In our market, almost all real estate agents subscribe to a service called Showing Time. It's a third-party company that coordinates showings between real estate agents and sellers. So it's fairly simple. A real estate agent wants to show a buyer 5 properties on a Saturday. They call Showing Time and say, here are the 5 addresses, here are the times that we want to see them. And then Showing Time, the third-party company, calls each one of those sellers, they verify the appointment, and then they get back to the agent with showing instructions. So this process that we subscribe to, this third-party company called Showing Time, I think is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's good in that if, I don't answer my phone when I'm on appointments with people. I give them 100% of my time and attention. But let's say we didn't have this third-party company. If somebody called me while I'm in an appointment and I don't answer the phone and they wanted to see my house, we could have just lost a listing or showing opportunity. So I think it's good in that it automates that process. But the bad thing is, because it's automated, you have now lost that personal connection and touch and, frankly, the ability to sell a listing to another agent because they're not talking before the showing occurs. They're just using a third-party company. So we do things a lot differently on my team. I'm not going to get into exactly what we do, but I will tell you that we leverage the automation, but we put a personal touch on it to make sure that when somebody walks through your house, they are a ready, willing, and able buyer that knows about your house before they get there. So that all, in my opinion, ties in with customer service. The third thing that I would say is pricing. I mean, the listing agent you're interviewing, can they physically show you how they came up with their suggested listing price? I mean, can they walk you through the process of looking at other homes that are on the market, under contract, and that have sold, and then adjust those homes to compare to yours? Or did they just come up with kind of a preset listing price before they even saw your house? I mean, are they providing you with the data or not? We talk a lot on this program about people, or agents rather, quote unquote, buying listings, meaning the listing agent knows they're competing with other agents. And so what's one way of securing a listing? Just tell the seller a higher price than the other agents they're interviewing and be really convincing about it. Oh yeah, we can absolutely sell your home for that price. Or, it's such a good real estate market right now. Why don't we just try that price and see if it works? Now, of course, you as the seller should be prepared for that agent to request price reductions from you as soon as probably a week after your first round of showings, which will likely be a waste, by the way, because buyers walking through it may feel like you as the seller are unrealistic because you want too much money for your house. So don't be tricked by this tactic. Hire the agent that can give you a detailed and realistic analysis of your home's value. The market is what it is, right? Agents can't make a buyer pay more for your home than the buyer is willing to spend. What they can do better than other real estate agents is do a better job of creating urgency and a higher perceived value for your home through the way in which they market it and through the way in which they talk about your home to other buyers or their agents, if that makes sense. And then the last thing I will say is, obviously we need to focus on marketing. And I'm not going to discuss marketing and what I do to market my properties on this program because a lot of agents listen to this program. And I'm sure they're probably hoping I was going to get into this on the show, but sorry, I'm not going to divulge any of that information. But for you as a seller, the agent you hire needs to be extremely effective at a few things as it relates to marketing. First of all, they need to be able to cast their net as wide as they possibly can to increase the possibility of you finding a buyer for your home, which means marketing to everyone from your next door neighbor to a buyer in China, as well as to agents working with buyers for your home. So they don't not only need to cast their net as wide as possible, but they also need to cast their net as quickly as possible, which creates urgency and excitement about your house. I mean, the more marketing activities they complete in a short amount of time, the higher your chances are of selling your home quickly and for more money and for possibly creating a multiple offer situation. But they also need to have the ability to control the conversation between interested buyers and themselves. And here's what I mean by that. The vast majority of agents do not pay for buyer and seller leads, and the vast majority of agents do not have systems in place that create exclusivity around their marketing efforts. Meaning, if I'm going to market someone's home for sale, I want to be in touch with the buyers that express an interest in my listings. As an agent, especially when you market homes online, you have to pay for that right. And frankly, not a lot of agents have the budget for that. I mean, my marketing budget, if you'd asked me when I first got out of this business how much I thought I'd have to spend on marketing, it would have been a lot less than what I'm spending now. I'll tell you that much. We spend a heck of a lot of money in marketing, but you know what? It works. And it is one of our differentiating factors. We have the ability to generate more interest, not just because we understand it and have the systems and tools to support it, but we have the budget to support it. And that's an important question that you need to ask the agent that you hire. So if you're thinking about selling your house, I'd love the opportunity to interview for the job of selling your home. We have commissions that go as low as 2.4%. We offer a varying array of real estate products as it relates to commission and the services we offer. We have a communication guarantee. We have an easy exit guarantee, meaning you can cancel your agreement at any time. You decide you don't want to sell. You decide we're the worst real estate agents on the planet. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, you have the ability to get out of that contract so you don't feel like you're locked in. You have peace of mind knowing that we are going to do everything we can do to sell your home, because we run the risk of being fired if we don't walk the walk. So many agents are good at talking the talk. They just don't get it done. And that's what we've really focused our business on. So if I can help you with that, give me a call, 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Stick around, Charleston. We have a few minutes left right here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA, and the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. It's time for a little political news as it relates to real estate. I don't know if any of you like watching House of Cards on HBO. The new season just came out on Netflix, by the way, for those of you that watch. But if you haven't seen it, it's a pretty dark show about politics and things that happen behind the scenes in politics, and some of which I am sure is accurate. But it's entertaining nonetheless. And so this year, and last year as well, we've just had such buzz in the media about politics that I think sometimes we have difficulty in separating emotion from fact. So if you look at the issues that are politically attractive to President Trump, I mean, healthcare reform is one of them, tax reform is one of them, and government spending reform is one of them. If you think about it, these are also some of the most difficult in terms of the heavy lifting required to make actual legislation a reality. So realistically, Trump's administration is only going to be able to tackle one of these areas in his first year as president. And it looks like he has his eyes set on government spending reform. So this Thursday, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to pass something called the Financial Choice Act, which is being led by Republicans and would abolish the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. And it's now moving to the Senate. Choice, by the way, stands for creating hope and opportunities for investors, consumers, and entrepreneurs. And so once it gets to the Senate, it's going to need 60 votes or more to pass, meaning some Senate Democrats are going to have to flip sides and vote to support the act. A lot of Democrats are saying they're actually referring to it as the Wrong Choice Act. And they're saying it's dead upon arrival. But the House Financial Services Committee chairman, who is Jeb Hensarling, he's a Republican out of Texas, he's the one leading the charge and released this act back in April. And so here's what he was quoted saying. The Financial Choice Act offers economic opportunity for all and bank bailouts for none. The era of too big to fail will end, and we will replace Dodd-Frank's growth-strangling regulations on community banks and credit unions with reforms that expand access to capital to small businesses so they can create jobs and consumers can have more choices and options when it comes to credit. We will replace economic stagnation with a growing, healthy economy. So in other words, the Financial Choice Act is kind of furthering the GOP's promise to cut some of these burdensome financial regulations in order to help create jobs and foster economic growth. I mean, it's basically about two things. Number one, it's about strengthening the financial system with strong and simple regulations so that economic bumps in the road don't become major crises like they did back in 2008. And then secondly, it's about ensuring that if banks get into trouble, they're put into the bankruptcy system instead of just getting bailed out. And for those of you that don't know or really don't understand, Republicans criticize the Dodd-Frank regulations as being one of the primary drivers for anemic economic growth in the U.S. And because it kind of preserves and protects this notion of quote unquote too big to fail, which is a great movie and a great book, by the way. But it paves the way for future taxpayer bailouts of the country's biggest banks. And so Dodd-Frank, to a lot of people, was based on this false idea that the 2008 financial crisis that we've now just finally clawed our ways out of was caused by insufficient regulation of the private sector. And you know, it's no secret that the Democratic Congress at that time wanted to impose significantly greater regulation on the U.S. financial system. I mean, the problem is they didn't completely identify or address the government policies that were the actual cause of the crisis. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was created out of Dodd-Frank, and the Financial Choice Act is going after that dramatically to change it because the CFPB is riddled with problems. I mean, on paper, the CFPB seems like a good idea. You know, a third-party company to complain to if you're having trouble with your mortgage company, check. Information about complicated financial services and, you know, helping you make financial decisions, yes, it does that too. But in reality, the CFPB has a ton of issues, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but you can read all about it. The information's out there. But since the CFPB is funded by taxpayer money, this means you actually get to pay for the privilege of waiting for your complaint to be answered. And so the creation of the CFPB, which is one of the main targets for the Financial Choice Act, the creation of the CFPB imposes costs on mortgage companies to ensure they remain in compliance, which has just resulted in mortgage companies increasing the cost to the consumer to increase or to offset the increased compliance costs. So really, if you think about it, you get to pay for it twice. You get to pay for it when you pay your taxes, and then you get to pay for it again when you get your loan because there's increased costs associated with it. So if the Financial Choice Act passes, the Congressional Budget Office did an analysis, and they said that it would reduce spending by $31 billion, increase revenue by $3 billion, resulting in almost a $34 billion total deficit reduction over the next 10 years. So, I mean, I'm all for this legislation. I encourage you to learn more about it. If this passes, and without reading the bill, of course, and sorry, I don't have time to read a 1,000+ page piece of legislation. I'd rather jump off a bridge. But if it passes in the Senate, it would allow banks to reduce their capital reserves, which is a huge burden, by the way, to small and mid-sized banks. I mean, I think they're closing to the tune of one bank a day in this country, but it would also allow them to invest in different assets and, more importantly, to loan money to small businesses, which is, of course, going to promote business expansion, job creation, job growth, and it's going to bolster the economy. So what will be very interesting to monitor is the short-term effect that's going to have on banks and their ability to loan money with less overhead and regulatory costs, which means, of course, a more affordable loan for you. So it's going to be interesting to monitor that in the short term versus the inevitable growth of the economy, which will lead to more normalized interest rates. I mean, generally speaking, the reason interest rates aren't higher is because the economy can't handle it. I mean, every time they try and increase interest rates, they back them right back down. But once the economy is booming again, of course interest rates are going to go up. I mean, it's going to go up like they've been projecting for years. Only now with this new legislation, growth won't be stifled by ineffective legislation like Dodd-Frank. I don't think the economy is going to take off at the speed of light, but it will address and or remove some of the uncomfortable, unnecessary, burdensome pieces of legislation that were put in place after the financial crisis of 2008, and it will allow for a smarter, more affordable, and more realistic approach to furthering the growth of our economy. And I think a lot of us can agree that it's about time for that. We're in a different market now than we were in 2008. So I think it's time to rip the Band-Aid off. I think it's time to take the training wheels off and to let us go. let this economy go. Let it. We've self-corrected. We've clawed our way out of this massive paper bag. So now let's turn up the jets and let's get going here. I think is the whole point of this article and the point of me saying that. So thank you so much, Charleston, for listening to me over the past hours. We talk about real estate here in the Charleston area. If you'd like to communicate with me about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, feel free to give me a call. 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. Thanks, Charleston. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.